Oh boy. So we have one more You Talk Show episode for now. Another day, another You Talk Show episode. Kyle is desperate to address the property market. There is a crash coming. It's impossible to figure out when, because everyone's been trying to delay a crash from occurring. And so all of the mathematical models that tell us that everything is going to go to hell in 3, 2, 1, now. Now. It's totally now, right? They're not working very well.
Even I make predictions.
But I'd like to talk for a moment about the other side of a property crisis, and that is housing availability. In the follow-up to the election, I mentioned that my local Greens candidate has the solid Greens credentials about what they refer to as housing justice. The idea that, if we have houses that are sitting empty, then maybe we shouldn't have homeless people because they should be in houses. Really, really simple concept. Goes back to the basic economic idea of supply and demand. There is a supply of houses. Demand is artificially increased by the fact that I will not try and use derogatory terms here, but unfortunately I do have to use the word landlord. Landlords are sitting on houses as investment vehicles. They don't want to deal with the nicotine stains from having a smoker. They don't want to deal with the cost of cleaning the carpets after a young family has lived in, or a family with one of those big shaggy dogs like you see on the paint ads. They don't want to deal with it. They want to have an investment that requires the absolute minimum amount of effort necessary. And if you're a person seeking to rent, that puts you in a little bit of a sticky position. I'm going to quickly pull up the average rental prices in capital cities, because
I mean, do we even
honestly
need to
kind
now?
of weird.
Well, it's insane. I mean, people are feeling this. I don't think we even need to quote the prices. People
No. Let's do this. Let's do this quickly. December 2022 is where I've got these data points from. Sydney, $630. Melbourne, $460. Maybe I need to move to Melbourne. Brisbane, $530.
Rents just got increased though. Like rents just in the last 2 months got increased. So December 2022, those
isn't even reflective anymore.
Each. Yeah, my rent just got raised by almost 50%, and I know other people who are in the same boat.
And when we're looking at these median house rents, like a median is very specifically the dead center value in the distribution. So
half are above that. So half are above $200 at least more than these numbers, which is insane. And so, what we really the question we need to get to is, what are the causes of this? What is causing this? And we kind of got into it in a bit, with the why is the rent too damn high?
We asked why is the rent so damn high, and
but we need to get more into it, because there's more to it. We couldn't get into the whole thing. In fact, we need to make a second episode to talk about the effects in the future of this.
What we need to talk about here is availability.
Yes.
What we need to talk about here is availability. I've seen the affectionate term land bastards used on Reddit to describe landlords, and I'm not going to lie, my landlord's pretty solid. I don't mind my landlord. I've had a history of relatively agreeable landlords, but at the same time, we cannot deny that there are landlords who are predating. There are landlords who simply really just want their investment to be a money-making vehicle.
Yeah.
And so combined with the lack of social housing.
Okay, so there's to get into the causes, there are a few things here. there's greed, which is the predatory increases, the seeing property as a commodity to make money off of. But that goes all the way back to John Howard's changes to capital gains, and then there's negative gearing, which was introduced. God, I don't even know what year it was. Sometime before John Howard even. It was it would. So there's government policies. There's
1985, Hawke and Keating.
Hawke and Keating. Although they did remove it for a bit in the 80s, but then they reintroduced it for reasons I can't understand. But the biggest problem, particularly in like Sydney and Melbourne, is that 3 or 4 companies, they own pretty much all of the property development. They run it as a cartel where they have their own territories.
Do you have sources for this?
Journalist Jordan Shanks talked about it. That's where I first learned it, and then I just Googled it from there. If I can remember to Google
maybe we
it
can
again,
pop
I'll
some
put
links
some
in the
links
descriptions.
Yeah. And there's also
we love
Michael
having
West
sources
has
for
done
our
a few
assertions.
good journal. Michael West has done a few good reports on this, as well as a few other what's the word? Journalists, organizations, news sources, something like that. There's a word there, but I'm forgetting it. So that
They
being
is
said,
a fact.
outlets, that's the word. So so we have 3 or 4 companies operating like a cartel, and they're keeping about 50% of the rental properties off the market to maintain high prices. Then after that, there's the increase of home prices to buy, which after a long period of time has increased rental prices as well.
But that's partially because of mortgage rates increasing as well, is it not?
Yes. So, interest rates have had an effect, but no any of the effect that property speculation has had. We approached this very briefly in a previous episode. Essentially, you have someone who's rich goes into an area, buys up all the property, and then they sit on it. This can raise the price by up to 30% in a single year. It is insane. And so, and it works by dropping the supply while the demand remains the same. Hence, again, you go into an area, buy up all the properties there that are on the market, and you hold them off the market. And so after that, you've made up to 30% on what you paid for it in a single year. And that is, repeat that over 20 years since the Howard era capital gains tax discount in 1999, I believe it was. And we have the property market crisis that we have right now. And, so we've had home prices rising, the price of property rising to the point where it affects rental prices. We have property development companies operating like a cartel and keeping properties off the rental market in order to keep that price as high as possible. And then we have in a situation where nobody can really do anything about it, we have predatory landlords increasing rents to make more money beyond, and they have the slimmest justification of, oh, well, interest rates are rising, inflation, that only accounts for about a 10% increase.
We've even seen landlords simply saying that they wish to raise the rent because that's what the market rate is like now.
Yeah. And
simply no reason other than that everyone else feels that they can charge this, so I feel I can charge it too.
Yeah, and that's almost like a feedback loop. They half of them, they raise rents. Then the other half are like, well, we can get away with this now, so we'll raise rents. And then they raise rents again and again. People can't afford to pay this, and that's why we're going to have, a property market crash, probably later this year. when adjustable interest rates kick in. But that's a whole other
So
story.
what
we'll
I'm
get into.
hearing
That's
is
the
I
part two
might
to
finally
this.
be able to afford a house.
Well, property prices will drop by probably as much as 40% from
Okay,
their
so I'm
peak,
still not going
maybe
to be
even a
able
little
to
bit
afford a
more.
house.
Well, maybe if you move out to Lithgow or, maybe Parks all the way out in the country, maybe
Don't
you can afford
tempt
a
me.
house there.
Don't tempt me to move to Lithgow, mate. Like I have
Hey, you
classes, I
did.
have night classes, but other than that, I have very little time to Sydney.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. So that, those are the main reasons, is because of, essentially of like greed is the common factor with most of this, but some bad policy decisions which were made for the benefit of property investors by the Howard government more than 20 years ago, um, and and cartel-like actions which should be investigated with a royal commission, in my opinion. So if you wanted to lobby the new Labour government in New South Wales for something, lobby them for a royal commission into the property development cartel. And I think that just about covers it. Property cartel, property speculation, driving up buying prices, and eventually, because they get so high, rental prices, and predatory greed on the part of individual landlords, raising prices by up to 5 times more than is justified, simply because they can, and there's not really anything we can do about it. So we've almost run out of time. Is there anything you'd like to say about any of that?
Well, look, I think you've covered a lot of it, but from the rental side of things, the question I have is I've proposed ideas to do this before in my other capacity as a person who writes proposed policies, but a way to legislatively compel owners of developments which have been left empty, or properties which have been left empty, to open them up to the rental market at fair, reasonable, and non-discriminatory price points. Is there a way to do that? Is there a way to lobby a government to do that?
I think yes. I think,
Is
look, the
there the political will, though?
that remains to be seen. However, I have myself figured out what I think is a way to do that, where you have maximum prices dependent on the amount of square meters that a property is. So if you're renting an apartment, however many square meters of floor space there are in that apartment would determine the maximum price. That's a way to get rental prices down. That's a price control that is effective, because it's not a blanket one price for everything, but it is a mechanism by which you can calculate a fair rental price for every single rental property. How many square meters is it? Times that by X amount. That's the maximum price, which is fair. Additionally, God damn, I just lost my train of thought. There was another mechanism. There was another mechanism that. Oh, well, that's actually for buying properties. That's a whole other thing, now that I'm thinking about it. But yeah, that's, for rental prices, a price cap based on the amount of square meters of floor space within a property. That would, in my opinion, be the most effective way of setting a fair price control. That's fair for both landlords but also tenants. And takes into account the rough quality of a property, because
Obviously, we can't just say screw you to landlords.
Yeah, I mean, look,
there needs to be a reason to continue
bankrupt them.
supplying the housing.
Yeah, we can't bankrupt them, as much as some people would like to do that. We all get that feeling. All of us tenants get that feeling from time to time. But it's unfair to bankrupt anybody. But at the same time, there are ways, such as this, to implement fair price controls. Hopefully we can lobby the Labor government to do something, the new Labor government in New South Wales. And for now, we've run out of time, and so we'll catch you later. Thanks for watching, and share this with everyone you know, and hopefully we can get more and more people on board with telling the Labor government to implement a way such as this to lower rental prices to something that is fair and not predatory.
Excellent.
All right, catch you later.
Take care, everyone.